Hi everyone, welcome to Meditas.com. My name is Vikas and I'm welcoming everyone in this beautiful journey of Palo Alto. Okay, so today we are going to start lecture 1, and in this particular lecture we'll discuss introduction about the Palo Alto operating system, architecture of it, and some of the basic features of Palo Alto. Okay. So I'm glad you guys are here. This is the Palo Alto physical box. This is PA200, although this box is discontinued nowadays. But this firewall is the physical appliance of Palo Alto and it's the basic box. It used to be a basic box of the Palo Alto few days back. Now, a new year version of this Palo Alto 220 is available in the market. Okay, so let's start this particular journey. So before starting, let me give you a brief introduction about myself. My name is Vikas, and I'm a network security and compliance engineer from last 9+ years. And apart from this industry experience, I have total approximately 6 years of experience in the teaching domain. All right. So what I'll do, I'll be bundling my all experience, whether it's industry experience, whether it's teaching experience, and I'll try to give you the best possible knowledge of Palo Alto in this particular course. Right. Now, before proceeding, a question to everyone: Who are you? Right? And why you want to learn this particular course? Question number one: Are you working in an environment where Palo Alto is being used? Do you think in future you will be dealing with Palo Alto? Or maybe you want to enhance your career in Palo Alto, or maybe in the security field, network security field, or maybe firewall security field. If any of the questions answer is yes, so my friend, you are at the correct place to learn the Palo Alto. Okay. Now, before proceeding further, I want to discuss the certification path of the Palo Alto because you should know the technology you are going to learn and what sort of expertise you have to gain in that particular technology, and to get the expertise, how to proceed towards the certification. So first, whenever you enter in the Palo Alto domain, you have one certification called PCCET, which is Security Associate Entry Level Exam. Okay. Then we have PCNSA, and then we have PCNSC. So this is the certification path for the Palo Alto. And in this particular video series, I'll be targeting this particular exam. Okay. So in this particular exam, I'll be discussing a lot of detailed information regarding Palo Alto, how to troubleshoot it, how to maintain it, how to do it day-to-day operation, how to troubleshoot live scenarios. We'll discuss a lot of things over here. Okay. And I'm really very excited for this video journey in which you all will be joining. Okay. Now, before proceeding further, if you have any sort of doubt in your mind that whether you should learn the Palo Alto or not, then let me tell you, this is the report published by an organization named Gartner, and this is the report published in November 2021. For 2022, the report is not published yet, although I would say I have not seen it yet. But this is the last report, and you can see till 2021, Palo Alto was in the leaders section. So we have three technologies, three companies in this leaders board, where Palo Alto is one of them, or I should say the Palo Alto is top of them. And why? Because there are so many features, so many functions are there, which is only and only available in the Palo Alto. So if you have any sort of doubt, you should remove your doubt from your mind and you should start learning this particular technology. Now let's discuss the syllabus of this particular video course. What sort of topics we'll be discussing over here. So this is the detailed syllabus we have with us. The first thing we'll discuss in this particular course is the platform and the architecture of Palo Alto. SP3 architecture, flow logic we'll discuss. Then we'll do some initial configuration. In initial configuration, we'll discuss initial access to the system, how you can take the initial access. Then configuration management, what sort of basic configuration you should be doing on the Palo Alto. For an example, let's suppose one engineer has visited one location with the Palo Alto with him and they want to configure the Palo Alto and you are at the remote location, then how you can configure that Palo Alto. We'll discuss these things. Then we'll discuss the licensing and the software updates, account administration. In this section, we'll discuss account administration through the radius. Okay. And multiple things are there which we'll discuss during the account administration. Then we have admin roles, we have interface configuration, initial configuration of the interfaces, security zones, sub interfaces. Okay, so there are multiple ways through which you can configure a Palo Alto interface. So we'll discuss all the interfaces types in very detail and what are the used case of those interfaces. Okay, or those type of interfaces. Then we have different mode of deployment in Palo Alto like tap mode, vVirtual wire mode, layer 2 and layer 3. We'll discuss all these modes in very detail. Apart from this, we have DHCP configuration on the Palo Alto. Routing, we have virtual routers, multi-VR. What is the concept of virtual router? Right? What is the concept of multi-VR, multiple virtual routers? So what you can do in one single firewall, one single Palo Alto, what you can do, you can configure multiple router inside it and you can make multiple virtual system and you can do the routing of those system through the virtual routers. Okay, so do not worry if you are not feeling very good with these type of terms. So do not worry, we'll discuss each and everything in very detail and you will be very much comfortable in these type of terms. After this, we have a very, detailed explanation of policies and administration, security policy configuration, policy administration, NAT, in which we'll discuss source NAT, destination NAT, and U-turn NAT in Palo Alto. Okay, then we have application ID. In the application ID, we'll discuss the overview of the application ID, application group and filters. Then we have content ID, in which we have multiple profiles like antivirus, anti-spyware, vulnerability protection, URL filtering, dynamic block list, file blocking, wildfire, security profile, file blocking. So these are the profiles. We'll discuss what are the real use of these profiles, how you can configure them, how you can use them in your environment. All right. Then we have zone protection profile. You know that Palo Alto is a zone-based firewall. So how we can protect those zones? How we can do the DOS protection in our Palo Alto? Right? The decryption profile, certificate management, SSL handshake, inbound, outbound, SSH, SSL decryption we'll see. Right? HTTPS inspection, SSL decryption, these type of things we'll discuss in very, very, very detail. Okay. Now, another thing we have user ID. In a user ID, we'll discuss what are the user ID, what is the benefit of using it, and what is the role of user ID agent in our Palo Alto. Then we'll see the Active Directory integration in our Palo Alto. We have VPN. In the VPN, we'll discuss the IPsec, remote access VPN, SSL VPN. In IPsec, we'll discuss the phase 1, phase 2, what are the used cases of phase 1, phase 2, when we need to configure the IPsec, when we need to configure remote access, when we need to configure SSL VPN, what are the benefits, what all messages will be exchanged in the phase one main mode, and what will be the messages in the aggressive mode. So these all details we'll see in the very detail, and then we'll see these things in our lab also. Okay. All right. Then we have a Global Protect, right? For the remote access VPN, we have a solution from the Palo Alto, which is Global Protect, right? Each and every security company who is providing the security solution in the market, they are having their own software for the remote access solution, right? So similarly, we have a Global Protect in Palo Alto. Now, after this, we have management and reporting. Log types will see, syslog will see, net flow reports. Lot of information is there in the management and reporting section also. After this, we have high availability, where we'll see active passive environment of Palo Alto, and also the active environment of the Palo Alto. So these things we'll see in very detail. After that, we'll have some of the information of the panorama also. Okay, and with this information, I would say I'll not go in very much detail in the panorama, because if I'll go in very much detail, you like I need at least 8 to 9 hours to get this completed. Okay, so it will be altogether a separate course for the panorama. But yes, I'll show you the dashboard of the panorama. I'll try to explain some of the basic things. Rest, I'll try to make you comfortable in the panorama section by comparing the normal firewall GUI utility and the panorama GUI utility. And when we do the comparison, believe me, you will be very much comfortable with the panorama also, right? All right. Okay. After this, we'll have some sessions in which we'll discuss the troubleshooting, the live troubleshooting also, how you can do the troubleshooting for the management plane, for the data plane, how you can packet capture on the Palo Alto firewall, how you can run the TCP dump, how you can relate those things on the Palo Alto firewall. Okay, so these all are the topics which we'll be discussing, and these are the brief listing of the topics. We have multiple topics, including inside these topics, subtopics. We have a lot of subtopics, a lot of detailed discussion we will be doing in this particular PCNSC course. Okay, so be assured you will be getting high quality of material in this particular course. All right. Okay. So this was the syllabus. Now, let me start from the basics. So my approach in this particular course will be to start from the zero and take you to the level of 100. So I'll be starting each and every topic from zero, and I'll try to take you up to the 100th level slowly and gradually. So let's start from the very basic, a question of $1 million. What is a firewall? Just pause the recording, pause the lecture, and just ask this question to you. Do you really understand what is a firewall? Do you really know what is a firewall? If yes, then tell me. Define your a definition of firewall over here with in your mind, or you can you can sit in front of a mirror and you can define what is a firewall. Okay, after defining it, let me explain it to you, and then just compare that the knowledge you had earlier and the knowledge you have now. Is there any difference between them? Okay, all right. So let's jump in. Let's start. So it mentioned it's a enhanced technology to protect our network from unwanted viruses, malwares. Okay, so what happens is whenever we talk about, see here, I'm not talking about Palo Alto. Here, I'm not talking about next generation firewall. I'm talking about a simple, a normal firewall, a traditional firewall. For example, Cisco ASA, right? So if I talk about a normal firewall, it's a technology. So see, if I talk about router, right? A router is a layer 3 device, correct? And if I talk about firewall, firewall is also a layer 3 device. So when we had a router in the market on which we already can create the ACL, then why we created one more device which is firewall? So next generation firewall is the upgraded version of a traditional firewall, right? So that's why I'm starting from the traditional firewall. And the question is, when we had one device, which was the routing on which we were able to configure the ACLs, then why we needed one more device named firewall in the same layer? And the answer to that question is because the routers are meant to do the routing. They are not meant to do the filtering. They meant to do the routing. If the traffic is coming to the router, it should pass the traffic towards a certain direction so that the traffic should land to the destination. Yes, if you have a good router, if you have a good model number of a router, what you can do, you can configure certain ACL on it. You can do some filtering on it. Okay. But when we talk about a ACL of, 1,000 numbers or 1,500 number, then router is not really a good device to do the ACL filtering or maybe data filtering. Okay, in that case we needed one device who supposed to do all the filtration in one place, because if we'll do the filtration on the router, main purpose of the router will deviate from its path. Uh, for what purpose we have the router? For the routing. If we configure 1,000 or 1,500 ACL on the router, the routing capability of the router will decrease. The delay will start coming into the traffic. And if you will be creating delay on the router level, believe me, your network will suck. Okay. So that's the reason we needed a new device on the same layer who is responsible for the filtration. Cool. And with the filtration, what benefit we will be getting? The benefit says, so you understood, right, why we have mentioned advanced, enhanced technology over here, correct? Now, by the filtration, what we achieve? hmm, We achieve protection of our network, right? Protection of our network from what thing? Protection from the unwanted viruses, malware, and the accesses, right? From the viruses, malware, and the accesses. Right? So if I do have a firewall in which I can do what? I can restrict traffic, right? I can mention that from this source to this destination, this particular port will not be allowed. So certain things which are available on the internet, for an example, let's suppose there is a bug in the market or maybe on the internet and it's working on 3900. So what I can do, I can create a rule that nothing will be allowed on 3900. Simple. So what I have done, I have like removed the possibility of the access. I have removed the possibility of getting virus coming in. I have removed the possibility of malware coming in, right? So this is how I can protect my network. Second thing, second definition, a technology through which we can provide advanced security in our organization. What do you mean by advanced security? Hmm? Advanced security means instead of having the source and destination filtration, I can filter the port numbers. I can filter the application also nowadays, right? I can do a lot of things, lot of layer 7 things on the firewall nowadays, right? So this is how we can provide the advanced security also on the firewall. So now this is the actual definition of firewall and why we need it. If you had this much of knowledge, then you are good to go. All right. Okay, so this was the basic understanding of the firewall. Now let's come back to the Palo Alto. Okay, before coming to the coming back to the Palo Alto, we were discussing about the traditional firewall, right? So these definitions were for the traditional firewall. Now, if we talk about the next generation firewall means your Palo Alto. your Checkpoint, your Cisco Firepower. These are example of next generation firewall. What do you mean by next generation firewall? Earlier, the firewall used to work on layer 3. Okay. Nowadays, the firewall which are coming, they can filter the traffic on layer 7, which is OSI, like application layer of the OSI model, right? So in if I talk about the Palo Alto, they are doing what? They are doing the application filtration, right? So application exists on which layer? On the application layer. That being said, like next generation firewall, we are defining a firewall which is having a lot of capabilities in terms of intrusion prevention system, intrusion detection system, application ID filtration, URL filtering. A lot of things are there in the next generation firewall. So if I give you one example, earlier in early like when the era was there for the traditional firewall, what we used to had, this is my client. This client traffic used to go on a switch, right? From the switch, the traffic used to go on the firewall. After the firewall, we used to had what? IPS, intrusion prevention system. Then we used to had IDS, intrusion detection system, right? Then we used to have what? A URL filtering box. Then we used to had what? Your antivirus solution, and multiple boxes used to be there. And then the internet, and then on the internet we used to had what? Our server. So you can imagine here, whenever my client used to want to go on this server, it has to pass these many devices inside its own organization, and then it used to go on the internet. Right? Now, if I talk about the next generation firewall, all these features, all these features are combined in one single box, and we can achieve all these operation in one single box. Okay, and how beautifully Palo Alto has used these features, you will see in coming lectures. You will be amazed to see that how beautifully they have designed their hardware so that their hardware can do lot of things simultaneously in one go, right? Now, let me proceed on the Palo Alto. So Palo Alto, the operating system of the Palo Alto is called PAN-OS. What it is? It is PAN-OS. PAN-OS means Palo Alto Network Operating System it is called. For example, we have Microsoft Windows, right? The operating system from the Microsoft. We have Macintosh from the Apple. Similarly, we have PAN-OS from Palo Alto. And you will be amazed to see this Palo Alto is a city in California. Okay, this is a city in California where this technology was registered. Okay, and you know, this first Pan OS operating system was launched in 2012, and the first Palo Alto deployment was made in Europe. And believe me, since then, these guys have not seen backward. They have always moved forward, and you will be able to understand why I'm saying this when we'll start working on the Palo Alto. Okay, so here's the person. His name is Nirjuk basically. Okay, his name is Nirjuk. He's the founder and the CTO of Palo Alto. And I'm not sure whether you know or not the term stateful inspection, right? We'll discuss this stateful inspection in very detail in some time. This particular, stateful inspection technology, which nowadays all the next generation firewall is using, is being developed by Checkpoint. We have a company, we have a firewall, Checkpoint, right? So that company has developed this particular technology, and that time he was the person who was leading that team who was working on this stateful inspection. And this stateful inspection is the patented technology of Checkpoint. All the firewall vendors who are using this technology are paying the royalty to the checkpoint, including the Palo Alto. So he is the person who have a vast experience in development. He has worked with Checkpoint, right? He has worked with Juniper and all the major brands, you name it, he has worked over there and on a good position actually. On YouTube, if you try to find if you try to find out some of the older videos of Checkpoint, you will be seeing this person over there giving interviews on behalf of Checkpoint. So after leaving Checkpoint, he has made his own team, he has developed this product, and his name is Nirzuk. Okay, this is the pick of Ignite Event 2017. All right. Okay, so now let me discuss some of the basic thing of the Palo Alto, some of the important aspects I would say. So let's discuss about the architecture of Palo Alto. In 2012, when the Palo Alto has came into the market, what made them a company who has grown so fast? It's their architecture. They have very brilliant architecture, and the design team who is behind this architecture has done a fantastic job to designing this architecture. The architecture is called SP3 architecture. What is called? It is called SP3 architecture, single pass parallel processing unit. What is it? Single pass parallel processing unit. Okay. First thing, they have introduced the concept of the parallel processing. Okay, what is parallel processing? Parallel processing means you will be having two different. So okay, let me explain this thing first. In Palo Alto, you will be having two dedicated planes. Okay, one is called what? Your control plane. One is called your data plane. So whatever the traffic, the user traffic processing will be happening, all the things will be happening in the data plane over here. And all the administrative work you will be doing, it will be done in the control plane. And these two planes will be totally independent from each other. Okay, this control plane will be only and only for the management purpose, and this data plane will be only and only for the processing traffic. So this, can you see here? Networking blade we have over here. Networking processor we have over here. We have security processor we have over here. We have content processor over here. So this traffic, whatever traffic will be coming on this firewall, it will be coming inside all these, CPUs all together, and this is called parallel processing hardware. Okay, and if you want to know about this data plane, just see this diagram. We have this diagram. This is data plane of the CPU. I have network processing, I have security processing, I have signature matching. In the network processing, I have flow control, route, ARP, MAC address, quality of service, netting. These all operation will be done by your network processor over here, this processor, right? If I talk about the session setup, SSL, IPsec, decompression, these all things will be done by your security processor, this one. If I talk about the IPS, viruses, spyware, and the SSN, these things will be done by your signature match processor, which is here, right? So all these all CPUs will be working together, and these all data plane CPUs will be having dedicated CPU, dedicated RAM with it, right? You can see a dedicated RAM and CPU over here also. And then we have a management plane over here in which you will be doing what? Your configuration, your logging, and your reporting. And this management also will be having one CPU and one RAM and one SSD. Means this management plane will not be having any dependency on the data plane. If your data plane is totally down, you can go to the control plane, you can reboot this data plane, you can manage this data plane, you can see what is going, why this data plane is getting down. And let's suppose if your control plane is down, your data plane will be altogether up. There will not be any problem on the user traffic which is passing through the firewall, right? And you can understand in the network processing, front end network processing, hardware accelerated per packet route lookup, MAC lookup, and the netting will be performed over here. In security processing, high density parallel processing for the flexibility, hardware acceleration for the standardized complex functions will be performed on the security processing. In signature matching, you can see stream based uniform signature match vulnerability, right? Exploits, which is called IPS, then virus protection, spyware, and SSN will be done over there in the signature matching. So this architecture is altogether a very unique architecture which led Palo Alto to become master in the security field. And if you talk about the next generation features, for example, application ID, user ID, content ID, right? These things, when the packet will be coming, so you can understand over here that though all these packets will be passed inside the these all engine all together, and that is called single pass software. Okay. So now, if you want to understand more about this, this is the flow diagram of your like logical diagram, or you can say flow diagram of PA 5000 series. PA 5000 series is a very high-end model where you can see we have what? We have a switch fabric over here, right? We have dead. See, let's discuss this diagram first. We have a switch fabric over here. We have a control plane. We have a data plane. In the data plane, we have three data planes, right? Three cores you can see over here, right? So over here in the control plane, we have dedicated CPUs, we have dedicated RAMs, right? In data plane, we have our separate flow control, right? ARP and everything will be done over here, and then the traffic will be forwarded to your CPUs. Now can you see we how many CPU we have? We have three data plane 0, data plane 1, and data plane 2. So we have dedicated three data planes in which in one data plane I have 12 CPU. Multiple RAMs are there inside one data plane. All the functionality is available over here, right? So there can be multiple data plane inside one hardware of the Palo Alto, which can be higher end model. We are talking this flow diagram of the 5000 series. Okay. And then if you talk about signature matching, can you see here how many RAMs are there? Hmm? Now, what are the use of these RAMs? We'll discuss in our coming lectures. All right. Now, let me give you a logical diagram of this particular, Palo Alto firewall. So let's suppose this is the box of your Palo Alto. All right. Yeah. Let's suppose this is the box of the Palo Alto. This is the whole box. You have these are the RJ45 port. These all are the ports RJ45, right? So these all ports will be connected to a chip which is called Marvel chip. Okay. These particular switch ports will be connected to a Marvel chip over here, and this Marvel chip will be connected with the Liger or the Tiger chip. Now, what are these chips? These chips are the chips who are responsible for the network processor or session offloaders, right? If your networking, when your policy will be checked, right? When your routing will be done, so those things will be done by Liger or Tiger chips. Now, on the basis of the hardware model, these chips will be available on lighter version, or like on the low end models, this chip will be available. On high end model, this chip will be available. Then we have one Octane chip. What Octane chip does? The flow lookup. All the slow path, medium path processing will be done by your Octane chip. Now do not worry about the slow path and the medium path. We'll discuss in our packet flow in our next class, next lecture you can say. Okay, and then we have one Jaguar chip who will be responsible for the application identification and the content identification. If you talk about the application identification, this thing will be done by DFA algorithm, and the content ID inspection will be done by AHO. Right? These two things are the algorithm which will be used by Jaguar chip. Okay, and the links between, you can see these links are called what? Joy links. These are high fiber link between your chips. Okay, now if you will be having, for an example, if for RJ45 ports, you will be having Marvel chip over here, right? If you have the fiber ports over here, then those for those fiber ports will be having what? Petra chip, who will be providing the connectivity to that fiber ports to this Palo Alto flow. All right. So this is the logical diagram of the Palo Alto. You have seen the hardware level, or you can say flow diagram, right? Uh, this one you can call it logical or flow diagram. Okay, this was the logical and the flow diagram. Hardware architecture, you can see, you have seen over there what sort of CPUs and things will be there, right? And then we have seen our single pass parallel unit. All right. Now, let me show you one very interesting website which is called Palo Alto. Let's have the hardware information of the Palo Alto. Palo Alto networks. Okay, this is the website, official website of the Palo Alto. Here's the person, here's the Nirjuk over here, right? Okay, let's go over here. They have also published this Gartner report over here, see, right? Where we have 3 companies over here. Okay, I wanted to see the hardwares. It's not theirs. Products, hardware, next generation firewalls. Okay. So these are the boxes of the firewall, Palo Alto firewall. This is the very high-end model. This is 6 feet chassis in the length, which is only designed for the data center purposes. Okay, 7000 series. This is 5000 series, the diagram which we have seen just now, where we had 12 CPUs. This is the firewall basically. This is also 5400. Here also you will be having the same sort of CPUs and the RAM. Then we have this 5200 box. Then we have this 3400, 3200 box we have. So generally, if you talk about in industry, very often you will see this box. 3200 or maybe 3400. Okay, in data center you'll see this 5200 or maybe 5400. These are very big chassis which you hardly see in the environment. All right. And this is the box PA220 which I was talking about. Earlier we used to had our PA200. Now they have upgraded this box also, and this is PA220. Now the difference between this small box and the bigger box is the operation. There are a lot of operation which will be done on the basis of the capability of the hardware, whereas this firewall, this PA200 and the 800 series, is mostly based on the software modification, right? For an example, we have seen multiple data plane over there, right? There will be only one single data plane, right? So a lot of things will be done on the basis of the software over here. These are the software based firewalls basically, and these are all are the hardware based firewall. We have very bigger CPU, RAM and SSD available on these firewalls. All right. Okay, so this is it for today, and this was a very brief, crisp, and very powerful session to start with. Just be comfortable with this session. Go on this Palo Alto website. Just try to understand about these, hardware. Just try to read the data sheet, and just try to see the hardware architecture. You will be having great information with you. Okay, so thank you very much for joining in this particular session. This is it for today. We'll meet in next class. Till the time, happy learning.